Hey, today we're going to be talking about personalizing your emails. I'm James, he's Jamie. We're from an agency called The Inbox Club. Let's dive in.
Next section. I think personalizing is something that, again, is a big subject on email marketing, right? It's something that people need to do, and they need to get it right, because personalizing, I mean, you touched on it earlier about the difference in how it's received by different generations, right? So the younger the generation, the less cynical they are about personalization. So that shows us as a trend, with millennials now being obviously firmly in the workforce and Gen Zs coming into the workforce now, that we need to make that move and to be more clever with the personalization, right? And that means more than just putting people's names in the subject line. So in terms of like the top ways to add personalization to your campaign, and I'm going to say, don't just talk about adding names in, right? Because anyone could do that. Any email platform, as long as you have the data and you're getting people to submit their names when they submit their email address, adding their names is easy, right? Anyone could do that. But in terms of taking it the next step,
I mean, that's all I have.
Yeah. So, give me one, for example, that you would say is
so
more advanced.
I think you're right. I think there is this tension between how much data do you collect at the point of email entry, because it follows that the more data we have on our list, whether that's first names, second names, occupations, some newsletters collect things like salary and location and job title. The more data we have, the more able we are to personalize. The drawback of that is that you're creating more friction during the sign-up process.
For sure, yeah.
And we don't want to do that. The most important thing is that we get that email address and we get that subscriber. So my approach when it comes to personalization is to focus less on the attributes of the subscriber, things like first name, etc., which can feel, in a strange way, a little bit impersonal, even if you are including their first name, because they know.
Yeah.
Most subscribers, most recipients are savvy enough to know that that's being automated. We're not typing in their first name into the subject line. Instead, I like to focus more on their specific interests, based on the way that they engage with other emails that I've sent them.
Sure.
So
okay.
Engagement-based metrics, I think, are a fantastic way to personalize. And that could be, for example, is there someone who's always opening an email about a particular topic? Maybe we send regular weekly newsletters to our audience, and every month we focus on one particular aspect of our business or aspect of the product we're selling, or whatever it might be. And they're always opening those emails, and we can spot those trends and say, okay, let's target that demographic with more of that content that they actually engage with. And that might not necessarily come across as highly personalized to the recipient, but importantly, it means they're more likely to engage with our content. They're more likely to enjoy being subscribed to our newsletter, and ultimately they're more likely to convert as a result.
Yeah, it's like a deeper level of personalization right here. It's not what personalizing looks like on a face value. And I will add that using personalization as a face value, in terms of using their name in subject lines and using their name in the copy as well, it is a good thing to do, right? It's just, especially as email marketing experts, we need to think about, well, how do we take that to the next level? And just as you described there, using on a more kind of subverted level of seeing how they behave, how they engage with our brand, means that we can target them more effectively. And I talk about this to death, but I'm a big advocate of, as are most marketers, of mapping out the customer journey, right? And the beauty of the email is that you can set up these touch points which are incredibly poignant for the subscriber, because they'll reach them at certain points in the journey, and that's how it can feel personal, right? Because it's triggered based on what they do. And again, I don't know the statistics, but my feeling is that the younger the generation, the more well received that personal outreach would be from a brand.
So 56% of Gen Zs want to see their name in a subject line. Only 36% of boomers want to see their name.
Interesting.
So that means, I suppose implicitly, that 64% would rather not see their name in the subject line.
Yeah.
I mean, to what extent do you think that personalization could be a little bit creepy?
I mean, that's a good one. How far's too far? I don't know.
So I went traveling last year, as you know, and
yeah, you want to start talking about it. You want to shut about it. Thailand this,
have you seen my
Thailand that.
tattoos?
Yeah.
but when I got back to the UK, I received an email from a booking website that I'd been using. Won't say its name, but booking website's a clue.
Yeah. Okay.
And it said something along the lines of, "We see you're back in the UK," and it was just a little bit. I didn't find it that disconcerting. So I work in email marketing and I understand they're using my data accordingly. I can imagine, however, that could be construed as a little bit stalkery to some people. And I think there is maybe a growing cynicism, given the fact there's a lot of consciousness now about how our data is used and what kind of data we share online. There is a growing concern, perhaps, that over-personalization could actually alienate your subscribers. And that we always need to be mindful that whenever we're personalizing, we need to ensure that personalization makes the experience of being subscribed more useful and enjoyable for the recipient, not weirder and creepier.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying, "We see you went on holiday to Chroma this weekend" in the email doesn't enhance the experience. It just kind of makes it a little bit odd.
Yeah.
I would rather see something like, "We see you've been browsing this product. Would you like a discount on it?" Or
do you know what I think that hinges on is that if I can make the connection to how they attain that data, and how if I can easily make that link. So if they've used my name in the subject line, I know it's because I submitted my name when I opted in, right? So I know that they know what my name is and that they can use it. If I can easily make that link to how that data has been attained and why it's been used, I think it's less creepy, right? Because I don't know how this booking website knew that you were back in the UK, other than it must have had some data on your travel itinerary, right? So for me, it's like, okay, well, how did you know that? You know, is MI6 listening? Or, you know, and what use is it to me? What value does it bring, like you said, as the subscriber? And what use is it to you as a brand? Why are you using that information, other than just to say, well, we know what you did last summer, kind of thing, you know?
And they might have sent some offers, you know, "Oh, what about this staycation in the Lake District," or whatever. But it just, I think going back to subject lines, it's just a little bit disconcerting, I think. Not necessarily for me, but again, I can imagine that some people might have found that a little bit disconcerting.
And of course, we're not boomers. We're not Gen X. We're not even Gen Z.
No, believe it or not, we are not Gen Z.
No.
The grey hairs betray that.
But so as a millennial, like, how does personalization make you feel? Do you appreciate it when it's being used?
It's very difficult to answer that because I am on the other side of the curtain, so to speak. So I tend to see personalization through the lens of email marketing and kind of thinking about what the email marketer who sent that was thinking. I would say that yes, I think it's probably something that helps at the very least. If it's using a subject line, I'm a little bit more likely to clock it. Ironically, these days, I'd probably far more likely to clock insert name written out as insert name, and I would probably love that and definitely click on it if that were to be sent to me. So again, I guess this comes back to frame breaking. As far as personalization in the copy goes, send me content that I'm going to enjoy and I'm going to be interested in. Take note of how I engage with your emails and send me more targeted content based on that sort of behavior. I'm all for that. I mean, why wouldn't I like that? It's similar to, you know, accepting cookies on Instagram. I'd rather be targeted with ads that I'm actually going to engage with and are relevant than be targeted with any old stuff. Maybe that's just me, but I'm not cynical about that whatsoever.
No, I can see both sides of the coin. I'm not cynical about it either. I would rather, as long as my data is being used responsibly, that they had it so that they could target me with more relevant communications, right? But I can see why, and I don't know if you know, we've talked about the generational thing, but I could see why some people would go the other way, right? They're not interested in people having their data. And, you know, that means that they might see content that's not as relevant, but that's fine because I don't want to give my data away, right?
Yeah.
I think we were talking about like personalization and going too far. I watched a clip from Minority Report the other day.
Great film.
A great film. And there's that scene where he's going through like the airport or something, or a shopping center maybe.
I know the one.
Yeah, and the cameras are scanning the thing in his eye, right? And the adverts then will know, like the billboards and stuff will know who he is, and they shout his name. But that scene is incredibly jarring, right? And you think, Jesus, like that's the future. It's almost dystopian when you watch that, right?
Yeah.
And that was in 2002 or something. And like for me, that was like an embodiment of, okay, well, personalization can be creepy when it's used like that, because he's getting called out by all kinds of adverts that you don't even know, they don't necessarily know that they're relevant for him. They just know his name, and then they're shouting his name whilst he's walking through this shopping center, which is quite a harrowing experience. Yeah. But then he eventually makes his way into like I'm not saying Matalan because it's Minority Report, but it's like a Matalan or a Gap or something.
Let's go for Matalan.
Matalan,
Yeah.
I like Matalan. Tom Cruise in Matalan, I kind of like that image.
Yeah.
But he goes in and there's like a hologram assistant there. Obviously it scans his eye thing, I can't remember what it is. And it says, oh, good to see you, John, whatever his name is. Let me know if I can help with anything. You know, I quite like that because it's kind of personalization on an acceptable level. So having him gone through this kind of shopping mall and it being quite a jarring, harrowing experience, then to have that personal experience in the shop, I could see then the benefits of that. And then I think a woman comes in, I watched this clip the other day, so I know. The woman comes in afterwards, and the hologram says something like, oh, hi, good to see you again. You haven't taken thoughts about those jeans you looked at last week. So for me, that's like, okay, well, that's powerful. I can see the use of that.
That's nice.
So in one short clip in that film, you can see how personalization can be both creepy and also quite useful as well.
Yeah. And there's an obvious metaphor there. There's an obvious comparison to be made between his experience walking through that airport hall thing.
Yeah.
And that being similar to wading through the emails you get on Black Friday in your inbox, and it's James, Jamie.
Yeah.
Kevin. So
Kevin again.
So yeah, I think you're right, and I think this raises a point about it being brand dependent to an extent as well. If you're sending generic branded emails from a company account, then over personalization is going to feel less sincere and less authentic. If, however, you're sending you're sending personalized emails, but they're from an individual, they're lighthearted, they're conversational.
Yeah.
Suddenly the personalization feels more authentic.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot more
Yeah.
from a personalization perspective if the emails that you're actually sending are conversational, useful for the reader, try to impart some sort of actual value. And value can come in many shapes and sizes, let's not forget. Yes, it can be a discount. Yes, it can be an educational piece. It can also just be a little joke here or there. You know, a casual sign-off, a little PS with a fun fact. It doesn't necessarily need to be something huge and well-researched or this massive discount. But trying, I suppose, a little bit to be personable means that your personalization comes across in a very different light, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
A la Matalan, Tom Cruise.
Absolutely. I remember I did a LinkedIn post about this as well, and there's some guy that has disappeared into the ether. I can't remember who he is or what his name was, but I saw something that he wrote on LinkedIn, and then I echoed that and wasn't able to credit him as
this guy, the legend.
Other than he was some stranger who passed across my my vision at some point.
I'm not sure if he was even real.
No, he might not have been, but I think and he said something really poignant, which was everyone uses email to talk except marketers. Right, and I think that just goes back to what you were saying there about being conversational and taking personalization beyond just using names and taking it to the kind of what email was created for in the first place, right? Which is a form of digital communication, one of the oldest forms of it. And talking to your subscribers, not just treating them like Tom Cruise was treated in that scene in Minority Report, where it's effectively spam, right? Because that's what he was doing. It was spam in real life. It was spam personified. And that's our mission at the Inbox Club, right? Is to make, not only to make email more profitable for the sender, but also more enjoyable for the reader as well.
Yeah, and those two go hand in hand.
Of course,
you
they
can't
do.
have one without the other, for sure.
Absolutely. That's personalisation.
Nailed it.